me see if I can. Oh, okay, so we're gonna record it, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let me see, in order to see who's here, I should put this in gallery view. Except that, oh, I see, there we are. Okay. So some of you guys have been in this club way longer than I have, so you know the procedure better than I do. But as I recall, when we used to sit in the hospital, we would go around the room and have people introduce themselves. So let's see. I'm just going to go from this top to bottom on my list here. And the top person says Arca Admin. So would you like to tell us who Arca Admin is?
Thank you, Ron. My name is Donna Fong, and I am Arca Admin, KM6QEK. And I no longer remember how long I've been a ham, but let's just assume 5 years.
All right. Let's see, we know who I am, at least I hope. Then we have, boy, I got to get some glasses on for this because small print they use on the screen here. KG6YZF, would you introduce yourself?
Right, this is Dan, and I've been a ham for about 15 years, but I haven't really been active until the last 2 or 3 years after I retired. My big project right now is I'm trying to get into HF. I have an extra classification, but I just haven't had an ability to do anything beyond VHF, UHF. So my big project now is trying to put together parts and pieces, get some hands-on knowledge, and kind of get out there in the HF world.
Okay, very good. Next up, Michael John.
Michael John Torrey, KF6YRG, Michael John. I've been a ham now for quite some time. I'm Michael John, KF6YRG.
Okay, thank you, Michael John. And then Kathy.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. I usually go by Rose.
Oh, I'm so, well, it said Kathy
okay.
Rose. I should know that by now, right? Yeah, thank you, Rose.
Yeah, not a problem. But I just wanted to make sure. It's trying to think if there was any other Kathy in the club. K6LEZ. I had to renew my license about last year sometime, so I've had it for 10 years. I'm the publicity person for the club when we have things that we can publish.
Okay, thank you. And Gene.
Hi, I'm Gene, KH6XJ. We moved to Alameda a little over a year ago. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
A lot of Hawaiians are moving to the States. It should be the other way around. We should be moving to Hawaii. But okay, and then of course, let's see. Oh, I guess this extends down, doesn't it? Oh, wow, we got a whole bunch here. Okay, Zach.
Hi, my name is Zach, Whiskey 6 Alpha Kilo Echo. I've been a ham for about 3 years now. I used to be your club secretary for the last year. So I'm working with Donna to make sure she can help you guys continue to keep meeting in the club. And the latest thing I've been getting into is DMR. So if anyone knows anything about DMR, I'm having trouble getting on DMR. So
That's the one thing I know nothing about. I was just reading a overview of it. It's sounds like a lot of fun though. Okay, Charlie Eberhard.
It's Eilhart.
Eilhart, sorry, that's an I, not a B.
No problem. My name is Charlie, N6CME, and I've been, how long have I been a ham now? I'm getting close to 5 years, I think, 4 years anyway. And right now we're in the process of moving, or we're going to be moving. It's going to be months though, but I don't have any antennas up right now. We're moving into a new condo at the other end of Alameda. That won't be till about December, but I managed to talk the construction superintendent into running a piece of coax up to the roof
Cool.
secretly. So we'll see what happens. The thing is, it's going to be under whatever antenna I run is going to be shaded by solar panels. I don't know how that's going to work.
That should be an interesting situation.
Yeah, yeah.
At least you, they're willing to help you out by running the coax rather than saying no.
Well, it's a stealth issue, I think, where he just said, okay, we'll do it. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Well, you could put two supports on each end of the building, or I guess that would be four little supports, maybe a foot or so high, and run a pair of wires, basically two dipoles, and then phase them, reverse cross the cable, and you could have yourself a directional beam and nobody would even know it's there.
Well, I'll have to see, because I have to kind of, it can't be immediately visible. That's the problem.
Well, on top of a roof, a couple of wires just above would almost blend in, but depends on who you're talking to.
I'll have to experiment with it and see what I can get away with.
It's outstanding. Richard, you're next.
Yes, Richard, KG6DRB. I have been a ham for about over 20 years, I guess. Not really too active. I'm technician class, but I'm hoping on working on my general class license maybe this year, getting more active in the club and learning more about the whole field.
Okay, well, welcome. And Jonathan.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm a new ham as of about a couple months ago. I believe my call sign is KN6SMA. It's been a while since I've thought about that. Totally new. I'm interested in like SOTA and POTA, and basically like still don't even have my first radio. So I've been spending much time learning Morse and things like that. So I think I'm most interested in QRP. But yeah, just brand new ham, live in Alameda, just getting started. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. You're on the right track, because SOTA, POTA, and all those other TAs are the big rage right now. People are putting their hills and their mountains and their valleys on the radio. And there's a thing called grid squares. The entire world has been divided up into grid squares. And so people have gotten bored with worked all states. Anybody can do that. And it's not too hard to get 100 countries DXCC, but to get all the grid squares, ooh, that's a whole nother challenge. And you don't have to be a rare DX station. All you got to do is go to a rare grid square. And then last but not least, Bob.
Hi, my name is Bob Gill, KJ6SGZ. I've been in ham mostly in a lower level. I'm mostly interested in CERT and races applications. I have a mobile unit, and I'm in the midst of trying to actually decide on what to get for a larger station and antenna.
All right. Well, answer me a question. I love your background back there. What is that?
That's a photograph of a place on the eastern side of the Big Island in Hawaii. It's a gigantic botanical garden that was literally inspired by one man and his wife. It took them a couple decades to finish it, but this is the coastal area off to the left. It goes up quite a ways uphill in one of the most incredible man-made rainforests I've ever seen.
All right. Well, I've been on the Big Island many times, took a radio there, actually, but I don't think I've made it to the botanical gardens.
Yeah, it's kind of obscure over far over on the Hilo side, actually, quite a ways down on the coast.
That's probably why I didn't get there, because the main highway there is, of course, lavaed out. So you have to
Oh,
find
yes.
other ways in there.
Yeah. I'm kind of afraid what happened to them. I know that Hawaii Estates was obliterated in a large part, but I'll have to look this up again and see what stage they're at now.
All right. Well, I think I got everybody here.
I think we
So,
got one call in person. Phone number 510-595-4715.
and that is who?
That is Sam, KJ6 Alpha Foxtrot.
Oh, I know that voice. Welcome, Sam. Good to hear
Thank you.
you. You sound, you sound like you're full quieting on a repeater or something. So, okay. Well, then let me turn it back to Donna.
Thank you, Ron. That was very nice of you to, it was a great introduction.
Oh, by the way, my call sign, WQ6X, I used to be WN6LKB, Looney Cooney Booney. Then when I got my general and extra, I was WA6LKB. I hated that call. So they offered you could get a 2x1 call, but you didn't choose. So I became Kilowatt X-Ray 6 Hotel, KX6H, which used to confuse people because KX6 used to be Marshall Islands. It isn't anymore. And then I always wanted an X at the end of my call. So now I'm WQ6X. Long way to describe it, but that's it.
Oh.
Real quick, can I interrupt? So for the people who just joined, our original planned speaker, whose name is Tim Duffy, actually will not be speaking today. He emailed yesterday saying he had a last minute cancellation. And it turns out his cancellation was he's actually flying out to Germany and Poland to assist with ham families in the Ukraine. So he is sorry he cannot be here today, but we will try our best to get it rescheduled as soon as possible.
You know, and we should invite him back to talk about that experience.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Absolutely. Tim Duffy, Tim Duffy has mentored young hams that want to get into contesting. I work with November X-Ray 6 Tango in Southern California, and we've got two 16-year-olds started in radio contesting, and now they're better than we are. And one of the reasons they got so good is that Tim flew them out to his superstation near Pittsburgh, and there was about 4 of them, 3 guys and a girl, and he mentored them to run a couple of radio contests. And he did that on his own. He got nothing out of it for himself other than he loves helping people get through. So he's a great guy overall.
Nice. Very nice. So next on the agenda is to go through the net control operator schedule. Normally Jerry does this, but he wasn't able to attend today, so I've agreed to replace him for that. So we would probably schedule for the rest of April and then also May. Right now, we're looking for a volunteer for April 14th. That would be Romeo 1 and Simplex Alpha. Is there anybody interested in April 14th? This is a Thursday night at 7. And if the issue is being able to reach Alpha,
Right.
yeah, for me, I can't reach Alpha. And so I usually volunteer for Romeo 2. But if anybody else is willing to fill in any of these spots that you see, for the person on the phone, we have April 14th open, as well as May 12th, May 19th, and May 26th.
Donna, I'd be willing to take May 19th. I'm also willing to take the 14th, but I am in Oakland. Although I normally get good reception on Alpha, we might need some relays for people to get to me because I'm in the Oakland Hills. But I could take April 14th, or I could take May. May is fine for me.
Oh, why don't we put you up front then? Because it's sooner. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine for me.
Okay. Anybody else? May 12th, May 19th, or May 26th? The 12th and the 26th are Alpha, and the 19th is Romeo 2, in addition to the Romeo 1 for all of them. Okay. If not, we'll move on to a reminder to renew your membership if you have not. Our treasurer, Dan, is taking checks for $20 for the annual membership, and his address is 179 Samaria Lane, Oakland, California, 94619. Ed Fong was our speaker last month, and he did a fantastic job. He offered a discount to our members who wanted to order an antenna from him. Right now, I have Ron for a GP7 and Richard for a DBJ2. Is there anybody else that wants to add to that order?
The order will go out at the end of this month.
Okay.
So.
All right, great. Send an email out to us if you want to add to the order. So the next thing on the agenda is to talk about the Arca domain and also the Arca website on Small Orange. I actually tried logging in into Small Orange yesterday and was able to do it. Hang on just for a second. Let me stop sharing because there is a login. I don't want to be on the YouTube video. And oh, that doesn't work at all. Okay. Anyway, I actually tried logging into Small Orange and I could do it. The price of renewal is $114.47. It was due March 1st, which means that if you try to go to the Arca website, you cannot get there at this point. And I think that I tried to look up the domain information, and I believe, and somebody here, please correct me if I am wrong, but I think we still own the Arca domain on GoDaddy, but we can't see our website because of us not renewing quite yet. So I think that that's sort of the gist of it. If somebody else has a different understanding or can elaborate, please do.
I don't know for sure who actually filed the domain name. Was it GoDaddy or was it Orange, Small Orange? I think it's still available, put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
A
so,
long time ago, with some of my websites, I was late on a bill and they quote unquote disconnected that website. And as soon as I paid the bill in 20 minutes, it was right back on again. So,
I think that's where we're at.
yeah.
so I
This is,
guess,
this is Sam.
hi, Sam.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, okay. I can help a little bit there. The domain is registered in my name. It has been right back since the beginning, since it was created in the very early 2000s. And I renew it every 2 years, and I get reimbursed by the treasurer. It's currently registered for 12 more months until March 2023. As for a small orange, that was the hosting used to be done elsewhere. It was moved by one of the previous webmasters to a small orange. I have no knowledge of them whatsoever. I've never known anything about them or their login or anything. But it sounds like you've got that under control. So the registration of the domain is currently, as I said, in my account. So that's it. This is Sam, KJ6AF.
Oh, good. That's nailed down then. So the question is do you want to stay with, what is it, a small orange? Is that a good price? $115 a year, $114 a year?
If you're asking me, I don't know. I'm not up with the current cost of hosting websites.
My comment is 114 bucks is chump change considering what our treasury has. And if we want to go to something new, we can, but at least we have this working for now.
So maybe just pay the bill and get it up again.
Yeah, just to keep us going for a while we figure out what we're doing.
Okay, I'll work with Donna and we'll get that done.
Okay, that works. I think that pushes us to the next item on the agenda, which is our speaker, Ron Fitch. And you're going to be talking about Radiosport Contest as emergency preparedness training.
Okay, excuse me. Okay. Well, this weekend happens to be a good time for that because this weekend is the CQ Magazine WPX contest. I actually don't know what WPX stands for, but we call it the Weird Prefix Contest because in a contest, you contact people and then you get bonuses for things like each state they're in, or in a DX contest, you get a multiplier for each country you work. Well, in the Weird Prefix Contest, you get a multiplier for every weird prefix. So call signs like W6AKE, no offense, Zach, but your call sign is boring for a Weird Prefix Contest. There's thousands of W6s and there's thousands of K6s, but WQ6, oh, somebody said to me last night, he said, oh, wow, you're rare. And he said all kinds of nice things about me because of my call sign. He was W7 something or other, which is boring. So in the Weird Prefix Contest, the scores are huge because right now I've only worked 31 contacts. I'm just getting started, but 28 of those contacts are weird prefixes. So I'm getting a lot of bonuses. As the weekend goes on, the bonuses relative to the stations I work are less and less. So you can go to a contest calendar, look up Whiskey Alpha 7, Bravo, November, Mexico, WA7BNM. He has the contest calendar. He's had it up for years and years. And it's a real simple calendar, but it lists all the contests that are going on a given weekend and a little box where you can click on that and it'll take you to the website for that particular contest. this particular weekend happens to be a 48-hour contest. It started yesterday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 0 hours universal time, and it'll go till Sunday. So it gives you a lot of time to play around. Maybe you don't have the courage to actually want to transmit, but if you have an HF receiver, tune around the sideband portion of the band and listen to the pandemonium and see if you can make some sense out of it. Because emergency preparedness training is about listening. Now, this club, of course, is involved with various net operations. I call that emergency preparedness training. In the evenings on 75 meters, there are a whole bunch of different traffic nets. Most of them don't handle much traffic anymore. They check in and say, I'm QRU, which means I'm available. And once in a while, somebody says, yeah, can you call so-and-so for me or whatever. But whether you pass traffic or not, being there and being QRU, meaning you are available and capable, is what it's all about. When I tell non-hams about ham radio, the younger they are, the more they don't get it, because they didn't grow up with that in their background. They didn't have ham radios tearing their TV sets apart. By the way, now it's the reverse. Because everybody's on satellite and cable, we don't interfere with TVs anymore, but guess what? Their TVs interfere with us. The TVs, those displays put out all kinds of random crap. So I have over here a MFJ noise canceling device, which is an attempt to knock that noise out at the antenna before it gets into the radio to cause a problem. But when I tell people about ham radio, if they know something, they say, oh, ham radio, isn't that obsolete? We have cell phones and internet. And my reply is, the governments can turn off your cell phone or internet anytime they want to. But they can't shut off my radio because they got to find me first. So as a matter of fact, you and us, we are more important than ever. Do you remember that hurricane in Puerto Rico a few years ago? And Donald Trump was down there throwing rolls of paper towels to people. What the hell was that all about? Well, you know what was really going on behind the scenes? A lady named Valerie Hotzfeld and others, she's November Victor 9L, NV9L. She and her boyfriend, I guess they're married now, W Whiskey Japan 9 Bravo. They organized an emergency effort to Puerto Rico. They were flying in medicine and food and radios because the cell phones were down there. She got the Amateur of the Year award that year for that because nobody asked her to do it. She just decided we're going to do it. The Congress promised Puerto Rico a lot of money and they got a tiny bit of it. It's like they've been forgotten all over again. However, they're still on the radio. I worked Whiskey Papa 3 Charlie last night on 40 meters in Puerto Rico, and there was a Kilo Papa 4 station. So they're on the radio and they're providing us communication. Well, a lot of people hate contests, radio contests. I heard one Texan one morning on 80 meters call us those pesky contesters. And some people, especially the early morning rag chewers, they get on a frequency every day. They've probably been doing it for 50 years. I'll just make one up, 3745. And just so happens, You see, the rule about a frequency is if the frequency is not being used, you can go ahead and use it. But what's the word I'm looking for? Decency dictates you ask if the frequency is in use first. So when I get on a frequency, I'll listen. That's the first thing. Always listen first. Then I'll say QRZ, the frequency is the frequency in use. QRZ technically means who is calling me, but it's also used to ask, is the frequency busy? And if I don't hear anything, then I'll call CQ or whatever I do. Well, these guys don't do that. One morning, I think I was on 3745 running a contest, and all of a sudden these two idiots show up and just start talking right on top of me. And then one of them complains that we got somebody jamming us. He's running a stupid contest or something. And I say, hey, dude, I've been here for 2 hours, okay? Well, we meet here every day, and you should know that. Really? I should know that you meet here every day when you live in Texas. How am I supposed to do? The bottom line is I moved because they had a louder signal than I did. The guy with the amplifier and the 3-element, whatever, they always win. So a lot of people's attitudes is that contesting is a nuisance and that contesters don't contribute anything to the hobby. And I contend exactly the opposite. I want to share my screen today. Where is screen sharing? Oh, there it is. I'm going to need to have somebody enable my screen sharing.
Is that working now?
Oh, let me find out. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, great.
I'm going to share that. In 2013, I started putting together a radio contest blog. It's actually become a blog about anything I want to talk about in ham radio. And let me see if I can get how are we going to do this? Zoom is always so tricky. I'm trying to get to how I can get back to the Zoom screen and keep my screen share alive. Well, okay, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so that I can get the chat. There we go. And my contest blog, I'm going to give you the base URL here. I just put it in the chat. WQ6X.blogspot.com is the base URL. Now, can everybody see that screen share?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Well, one of the topics I wrote a blog about was, are Radiosport contests really emergency preparedness? And this blog right here, where you can see it. There's the link to it. I will post all these links at the end of my little talk. And this particular friend here, you may have remembered this picture a couple of years ago. I did a presentation on the role of respect in radio sport. It was basically the things that pissed me off that happened in radio sport contests. And this picture came as a way to express one morning in the middle of a radio sport contest. I was running remote from Southern California. I often take the 2 a.m. shift because I'm the only one that'll get up at 2 a.m. And Dennis N6KI, he calls me on the phone about 1:45, tells me to fire up your coffee. You're coming up. But one morning he said, well, you need to know that we've got a little bit of intentional QRM going on this morning. And basically every time he called CQ, as soon as he called CQ, this guy would go, F you, F you. He had a recording and basically he was doing it. And I just happened to find this picture of him on the internet. So I didn't know that orangutans can get ham licenses, but so I wondered if he was just stuck on a frequency or if he was following people around. So I set my VFO-B to a frequency a couple of KC above it and switched to that, and he immediately found me. So now for the next 2 hours, it was a back and forth game. I was switching from one frequency back to the other. When he would show up, I would go back to the other, and it would take him 5 minutes to realize that I had been gone for 5 minutes. But this is people's attitudes towards Radiosport contesting. Radiosport is about getting the message through. As a matter of fact, one of the first contests ever produced was the November Sweepstakes. Let me see if I have a picture. I thought I had a picture on that. Well, I guess I don't, but the November Sweepstakes was actually a traffic handling exercise. And in traffic handling, if you go by the national, let's see, the NTS, National Traffic Service, is that the way it's called? Boy, it's been a while. The National Traffic System has been around since about 1916, so over 100 years. And the basic idea of handling traffic hasn't changed. That's really why we're here. Ham radio is fun, and I enjoy it, and I love DXing and contesting and field days, but to justify our existence, handling traffic is what it's all about. After World War I, because we had been shut off the air for almost 2 years, the Navy went to Congress to abolish ham radio. And Hiram Percy Maxim, W1AW, went to Congress with a few others and said, hey, dummies, use your head. Thanks to ham radio, you had trained radio operators in World War I. So as a matter of fact, you don't want to get rid of us. You want to keep us around. So they decided, okay, then amateurs, you guys are a pest, but we'll give you 200 meters and below. So basically, we were given from the broadcast band up to gigahertz light. It was all ours because the short waves are worthless. By the way, they were in the bottom of the sunspot cycle. So yeah, the short waves were not very good at that point because we were at the bottom, but they gave us the entire spectrum. And as you may, somebody in our club gave a comment not too long ago about the transatlantic tests that were held in 1922. Hams immediately started doing transatlantic tests and then trans-Pacific tests. We demonstrated that the short waves are actually where it's at. And the minute that word got out, they took the whole spectrum away from us and gave us these little slivers. That just, to me, well, first off, that's cheating. But when you're the big government, you can do whatever you want. So we're lucky to have what we got, but we proved that the world can be communicated with, and we demonstrated our need by handling traffic. When the November Sweepstakes came out in 1930, In the November sweepstakes, you send a packet of information, which is basically the equivalent of the header that is sent when you send a radiogram. I don't know if they actually do radiograms anymore, excuse me. But radiograms is how it all started. We think of Western Union and telegrams. Well, guess what? Western Union got their idea from us, from sending radiograms. So the sweepstakes was a contest still going on. It's still my favorite domestic contest. And in the sweepstakes, you send a number, you send a letter indicating how much power you're running, you send your call sign, you send your check. The check was normally the number of words in the radiogram. Today, the check in the contest is the year you were first licensed. And then in the radiogram, you always indicate where it's coming from. And in the November sweepstakes, we indicate our ARRL section. We happen to be in the East Bay or Echo Bravo section.
Ron, can I ask a question? Quick question.
Sure can.
We got the Arca website back up right now. I've looked at it, but I've never been able to do anything with it. Do you blog on that Arca website?
Actually, no, I do not, but I would be quite okay with if people wanted to put a link to my website, and if there is a desire for me to write something up that I could, that somebody could post for me on the Arca website, I'd be happy to do that as well.
That's something we could all keep in mind, is how to get the website more active if we're going to support it.
If you go through my blog, you'll see that I'm coming up on blog post number 500, I think, or is it 400? That's a lot. I come up with
Good for you.
reasons. I come up with reasons to blog. When basically I got tired of people saying that radio contesting is worthless, and I decided to show them. I wrote this blog in June of 2019, about 3 years ago. And let's see. Here's the radiogram. This is what a radiogram looks like. I did have that picture. I don't know if you can see it as that well on the screen, but the radiogram, I actually used to handle traffic. I used to be part of the national traffic system on CW. I would get on it. I believe it was 7 o'clock every evening. The Northern California net, they called it NCN. NCN is still around, although they're on a different frequency, because now on 80 meters, sideband goes all the way down to 3600. We used to be on 3630, if I remember right. Now they're on 3580 or something like that. But the NCN, basically Northern California net, people pass messages amongst themselves. And if the message is out of the area, then they have a relay operator who takes those messages, and he goes to the Pacific area net, and he's met by the Southern California guy, the SCN guy, and they exchange messages back and forth. And the ones that are outside of California, the Pacific area net guy, he gets on the US net later on that evening, and he passes them along, because that's how we got started. ARRL, American Radio Relay League, started because in the early days, back when we were down on long wave, you couldn't get across the country. That was impossible. So Hiram Percy Maxson and a couple of others put together a the national traffic system, and they broke the entire country down into areas and regions and all that stuff. And you could relay messages. They had a contest early on, I believe it was 1920, to see how long it would take to relay a message from Newington, Connecticut down to Los Angeles. And I think eventually they got it down to like 5 minutes. Wow. And so Newington relayed it to Cleveland, who relayed it to St. Louis, who relayed it to, I don't know, New Mexico, who relayed it to Southern California, something like that. That's what we had to do back in the days. Now, because we have shortwave frequencies, you just need to know a little bit about shortwave propagation to know what bands are likely open. And there's probably a traffic net on that band at some point in time. In general, the higher frequencies, 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters, are daytime bands. 20 meters can go both ways. As we go higher in the sunspot cycle, 20 meters will be open all night, which is really a lot of fun. In between is 17 meters and 12 meters and 30 meters. Those bands are called the WARC bands, World Amateur Radio Conference. No, World Administrative Radio Conference. Every couple of years, countries get together and pass laws and stuff. And to show what nice guys they were, in 1979, they gave us 30 meters, 17 meters, and 12 meters, but they're just tiny little slivers. And the agreement is you don't do radio contesting on those bands. So anybody that says that we've taken over the spectrum with contesting, they're wrong, because you can go to 30, 17, and 12 meters. The evening frequencies are 160, just above the broadcast band, 80 meters and 40 meters. That's as we get into the evening, the higher frequencies, the maximum usable frequency lowers and lowers and lowers, and the lowest usable frequency becomes available. 160 meters is 1.8 megahertz to 2.0. 80 meters is 3.5 to 4.0. 40 meters is 7.0 to 7.3. Although the caveat on that is that most people don't know that 40 meters is actually a band. It isn't our band. We have shared access to it. And in shared access bands, we are considered secondary. On 30 meters, although it's never really been a problem, we have secondary access. If a military station shows up on one of our frequencies, we have to move. On 40 meters, who are we sharing with? We're sharing with the broadcast stations, because in a lot of countries around the world, they call it 41 meters. And 41 meters, 7.2 to 7.4, is considered broadcast stations. Well, we amateurs know how to work around that pretty well. And in fact, sometimes the broadcast station will have a carrier, but no modulation. So I have been known to zero beat the carrier and use that as my run frequency, because there's nobody talking, nobody's saying anything. And if you have a digital notch filter on your radio, it'll get rid of the carrier anyway. So that's not a problem. But we are shared, and whether you like it or not, actually, if the Radio New Zealand is on 7245 in the evening, and I like listening to Radio New Zealand, so sometimes I give them a break. Now, the idea of radio contesting is getting the message through and getting it done accurately. There is logging contest software that's available freely that'll not only will it allow you to log the contacts, but if you know your way around with serial ports and things like that, you can actually run your radio. Currently, I have a radio running here. Let me bring up my copy of the software. I crashed the system earlier, so I had to restart it. I use a program called N1MM, November 1, Mexico, Mexico. I don't expect that you can see the details on this very well. Oh, it just went into RIDI mode. That was brilliant. What frequency are we on? LSB. There we go. But this software, if ties in with my Yaesu FT2000 radio over here, this radio, like most HF radios today, can be computer controlled. And when you have proper computer control, this logging program, I can type in a frequency and it'll take my radio right to that frequency. And I have a set of function keys on the entry screen over here. These function keys can be programmed to do things for you, like call CQ. On CW, I have this set up with another serial port to key my radio and send Morse code. So when I press function key 1, the CQ key, you'll hear or whatever. It calls CQ for me, and I can put it in repeat mode, and it'll just keep calling over and over. And then when somebody calls in, I take a dive and hit the escape key, and it stops it. And then I type in whatever information. This weekend in the WPX contest, we send two things: a signal report and a serial number. Now, if you go through my blog I wrote last year, you'll see, and earlier again this year, I have issues with sending signal reports in radio contests because everybody sends 59 or 599. So it's not a signal report anymore. And I think I used to piss people off back when I started in radio contesting because I tried to send a real signal report. They're going to enter it in the log as 59 or 599 anyway. And the log checking software that checks the logs for the contesting committees, they ignore that field anyway. So my question is, why send it? Because we're doing emergency preparedness. Why send something that everybody already knows and doesn't mean anything anyway? In the California QSO party that we ran last year, we send two pieces of information. We send a serial number, which is how many people you talk to, and we sent the county that we're in, Alameda County. So I would say W6AKE, you're number 526 in Alameda or Alameda County, or because people don't know how to spell Alameda, I would say you are number 526 in Alpha Lima, Alpha Mexico, the 4-letter abbreviation for Alameda. When I ran CQP from this location here, I was Charlie, Oscar Sierra, Contra Costa County, because people can't figure that out. So you got to tell them. But in radio contesting, it's important that you get it right. I will be submitting a log this weekend for the weird prefix contest to the contest committee. This software has an option It's way over on the file menu where it belongs. And one of the options is generate a Cabrillo file. In amateur radio, we have adopted a standard known as a Cabrillo file. A Cabrillo file is like a word processor format. It's very similar. It uses what are called meta tags, if you know what meta tags more or less are. But basically, it's a way that we all speak the same language, just like we have the Q codes to allow people around the world who don't know English, they can communicate with us. I'm QRU, I'm QRV, QRS, which means slow down. I'm getting QRM, interference. I'm getting a lot of noise, QRN. Cabrillo file allows me to submit a log to the contest committee, and they take all the logs for that contest and put it in a database. And then they have computer software that goes through each of those logs and compares the contacts in my log with the contacts in the log that you submitted. And if you sent to me number 526 and I logged it as 426, the computer is going to compare those and it's going to ding me because I logged it wrong. So I won't get the 2 points for talking to you because I didn't do it right. If I logged your call sign wrong, I get dinged for that. Now, not everybody sends a login. So if W6AKE, I keep using your call sign because it's easy. If you worked a contest but didn't send a login and I claim that I worked you, they have no way of verifying that. So they just assume that it happened because we all know that radio amateurs are honest people and they never lie. Yeah, well, and it turns out in Europe, in radio contests, there's actually been a lot of cheating over the years. Can you believe it? Somebody said recently, why would you cheat? If you get the trophy or the certificate on the wall, you know in your heart that you didn't earn it because you cheated. Now, you may remember I gave a talk once where I said, when in doubt, cheat, but within the rules. Cheating within the rules means you read the rules, you find out what is specifically allowed and what is specifically not allowed, and then you work within that. You can do whatever you want. Back 30 or 40 years ago, it was essentially considered cheating if you used a computer in a radio contest. One year, I operated a radio contest from my office in Manhattan Beach on the second floor. They were doing construction on the fourth floor, so they had cables running up and down the stairwell. I realized that they wouldn't notice if there was an extra cable, piece of coax. And I got up on the roof and created an 8JK, a 2-element dipole array, and ran the cable down. Nobody noticed it. And security in the daytime, well, they figure I'm just working overtime, so they didn't hassle me. And at nighttime, I knew the security schedule. So I had a little light over the radio on my desk. And when I knew security was coming, I turned the light off. I had a sleeping bag under my desk. So I got some sleep in the middle of the contest. I ran the All Asian contest in the process. And I logged on my computer. So I didn't, when I submitted my log, I didn't mention that because I wasn't sure if I was going to be disqualified. And in fact, in the late 70s, one group did get disqualified because they found a way to run a CW contest, and it was adjudicated that no human being was actually running it. So they got disqualified. Now today, if you don't use computer software to run a contest, you don't stand a chance if you want to actually compete and win. It's just not possible. So with Radiosport contesting, the idea is to get the message through and to get it through accurately. Somebody once said to me, what do you say most often at a radio contest? And my answer was one word: again, again, your call sign again, your prefix again, your section again. I even have a function key program for CW contests that says again. And I have one program just to send question mark, did it, did it? Because as a matter of fact, one of my beefs in Radiosport contesting is that people give up too easily. I don't give up. I get the message through unless it's just completely not going to happen. Eventually, maybe you have to move on. But a couple of times we have received emails from beginning operators who said, I don't know who your operator was that was on 40 meters this morning at such and such a time, but he was real patient with me and we got the information through. Well, that real operator was me, because normally I don't give up. Another thing that I've never understood, I'll be on a frequency calling CQ contest, and let's say 6 people call in all at once. So I'm going to pick out one call sign for starters, and a contest exchange probably takes 10 seconds. So I'll work that guy. I'll say this weekend we're running serial numbers. I'll say KM6QEK, you're 59126, my serial number 126. And you'll say, thank you, Ron, you're 59001, because you're just getting started. And then I'll say, thank you, QRZ, and nobody's there. 6 people called in and they can't wait 10 seconds to be next in line. What, where are you going? Do you have someone more important to talk to than me in that moment? And these are people that they call in and they call in, they keep calling in, and I finally get them and I call them back and they're gone. Well, you called me 4 times and you were frantic about it. So I returned the call and you disappear. Where did you go? These are the things that, you know, I just don't understand sometimes. So the bottom line is, don't give up. If we gave up because it was tough to get the message through, traffic would never be handled. You guys with the repeaters are running into some difficulties lately. And you know what? You guys figure out a way to make it work, because that's what we do. Now, there are basically 3 kinds of contests: CW, Morse code, radio teletype, although digital, other digital modes are being allowed in, but they have to be in their own category. And then, of course, single sideband. And as a matter of fact, single sideband is my least favorite type of contest when it's a worldwide contest. The reason for that is, just like with the airlines, English is considered a universal language. So the traffic control, they use English. And pilots know enough English to communicate with the control tower when they're flying in from Singapore or Tokyo or wherever. Well, in ham radio, it's the same thing. We use Q codes. Yeah, isn't it weird? People can't speak English, but their call signs use English letters. And they can't speak English, but they know Morse code and they know what QRZ and QRU and QRM mean, because the Q code is universal. So we can largely communicate with Q codes. And on CW and radio teletype, we use Q codes. Now, we can use Q codes in single sideband as well, but here's the problem. Speaking it with your mouth takes practice. if you ever tried to learn a new language, Spanish or German or whatever, you remember how hard it was to get it right. And your accent, if you will, was horrible. Well, that's my beef with single sideband worldwide contests, is that people from other countries, their accents are horrible. They say their call signs real fast. CQ contest WQ6X. CQ contest WQ6X. CQ contest WQ6X. I can't understand their call sign. If I can't understand your call sign, how can I talk to you? And if I put it in the log wrong, we're both going to get dinged for that contact, because I'm not in your log and you're not in my log. So as a matter of fact, I've often said your call sign is your calling card. In Toastmasters, I say to people, your speech title is your calling card. So hook us with your speech title. I won the speech contest the other night for Alameda, and the speech title was, "We only have winners on our team." And people wondered what that was about. So I gave a 5-7 minute speech about bullying, which is what it was really about. Same with your call sign. Your call sign is your calling card. So I might say, secret contest, Whiskey Quebec 6 X-ray. I slow down when I say my call sign, because if you can't understand it, you can't log it. In CW contests, Europeans in particular, they love to run like 38 words a minute. Why? Nobody can understand you. So they'll call CQ for 5 minutes and nobody comes back to them. And they're S9. They're pegging the S meter. Why do we not come back to you? Because we don't know who you are. One of the weirdest call signs I ever had to try and figure out, the guy was running about 36 words a minute Morse code, was S55S. That's all dits. Did it. And he's sending it at 35 words a minute. So all the dits are jumbled and nobody's talking to him and he doesn't know why. I sent to him QRS, which means slow down, damn it. He slowed down to 30 words a minute. You know what? 20 people called in right away. Boom, one right after another.
Ron, you gotta write a book.
As a matter of fact, that thought has crossed my mind. So as a matter of
really
fact,
amusing. I mean, they're so true.
Yep. You see, radio contests are really simple, and we're not out to impress anybody. I think those Europeans think they're impressing us. I'm not impressed. As a matter of fact, remember this: when you run a frequency, people need to slow down for you if you're a slower sender. Don't feel embarrassed by that. When I'm running a frequency, to run a frequency means I pick a spot, I call CQ, and you come to me. The other part of radio contesting is called search and pounce. I'm going to go tune the band looking for other people calling CQ contests, and I will call them. In Morse code contests, people will often call me maybe at 15 words a minute. You know what I do? I slow down to 15 words a minute. I make the contact with that guy. I thank him, he thanks me, and then boom, I'm right back to 24. I usually go about 22, 24 words a minute. With the remote contesting, Dennis gets pissed off if I go below 28. So when I'm on shift for his operation, I run 28. But when I run with my call sign, I run 22 to 24. Sometimes I'll call in and somebody that for whatever reason, they can't get my call sign. So I keep slowing it down and slowing it down and slowing it down. One guy, I slowed down to 12 words a minute. The computer is sending it, so it doesn't matter. And I slowed it down to 12 words a minute, and he finally got it. And then I gave the information, and then immediately back to 22 words a minute. When you're running a frequency, you call the shots. And you know what that's akin to? That's akin to being net control operator. When you're net control operator, you're running the frequency. Always remember that. Do not let people take the frequency away from you. You determine who operates and who does not operate. And some people don't like that. They don't like being told what to do. On Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on 3908 is the Wharfanet at 8 o'clock. And they are consistently jammed with music and obscenities. And a guy plays a recording. One night he tried to check in and they told him to stand by. And he didn't like that. And so he's been jamming them for years. The FCC knows about it. They've actually filed proceedings against him, and they've levied $20,000 in fines, but they have no enforcement way of collecting it. And so he keeps on jamming W6WBJ, and he keeps on jamming. He's or used to be a lawyer. I think he got disbarred. So he would file these motions against the FCC and say, well, you want me to come to Washington, D.C. to appear before you, and I can't afford it, and blah, blah, blah. And they finally said, too bad. But it's mindless, because in fact, while they have an enforcement against him, there's nobody doing anything about it. But I have heard.
Ron, can I go off topic for a minute? I gotta run pretty quick. But has anybody got any experience getting into our webpage and making changes or adding data? I can't figure out where to go or how to do it. So I'll put that out as a generalized query. No, nobody does. Okay.
I think the last person who made updates to the page is what's his name?
Cass Kerrigan,
Cass, was it Cass?
maybe. He's
I thought it was what's his name? He was at the meeting last week.
Charles Hoskins.
No, not
Jim?
Charles.
Jim Wright.
Jim Wright.
I'll ask him.
As a matter of fact, I believe that is correct. He was the last one.
Yeah, so we need to, I can't do any more. I mean, I can't, it's like somebody super techie created this thing years ago, and it looks like nobody's done anything for 2 or 3 years on it. So almost pre-COVID. Yikes.
I will ask.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Ron.
No problem. Thank you for doing what you can. Can you see the my screen, amateur radio emergency communications? Yeah, so that's up. Okay, I didn't know if I did it right.
Right, WQ6X context activities.
Yes, and it says NAQP 10 fantastic
Right,
hours of,
right.
yeah, okay, very good. Well, that little plate, amateur radio emergency communications, came from November X-ray 6 Tango. I used to guest operate down in Fallbrook. We had a nice little station down there. We got evicted last June because the house has now been rented out to a non-ham. And we now have access to Whiskey Alpha 6 Tango, Quebec Tango. If you put that call sign in, you'll see that it's a huge plot of land with monster antennas, stacked Yagis, and a 3-square vertical array for 160 meters and all kinds of cool stuff. But on the wall at NX6T was this amateur radio emergency communication. So I took a picture of it and found a way to paste the picture onto the picture of my current station. This is my current setup, which is behind me. And this was also I think at the end of the Rennie Roundup contest. So I decided I was going to enjoy a nutty but nice brewski while I was at it. One of my favorite contests is called the North American QSO Party, or NAQP. It's a simple contest, and it's a fun contest because in NAQP, you give your name and your state. So we get to find out a little bit about who you are. This weekend, we're giving I'm saying 5, 9, and a number. So technically, people don't know where I am, and they don't care. And they don't care what my name is. But in the NAQP, name and state. Or if you're in Canada, name and province. Or if you're outside of the North America, US and Canada, name, and you just say DX because you're DX. Emergency preparedness not only comes from radio operating, but it comes from radio setup. This little picture, it's not real easy to see, but I used to get permission to operate from the Phoenix Lodge in Hayward. It's now called the Travel Lodge. They cleaned it up. The Phoenix Lodge was a real seedy place with police cars in and out of there all the time. And I heard rumors that somebody got killed there on the 3rd floor. But they used to let me set up radio operations there. So that's why I stayed there when I did. And this was a typical operation that I set up. If you look very closely, you'll see that I made a Slinky antenna. You know the Slinky toy? A pair of those fed with a coax cable actually makes a dipole. And it's a shortened dipole because it's helically wound, I believe is the name for it. So I have run Slinky dipoles as portable setups. At this location, they allowed me to put my HF2B vertical on the balcony and point it out into the air. Didn't work very well, but it did work. So those of you that are doing POTA and SOTA, Parks on the Air, and what is SOTA? I forget, something on the air. You guys, summits, thank you. You guys are doing emergency preparedness because it's real easy for me to sit here and run the radio. But what happens if the electricity goes out? Got to find me some batteries or solar panels. So you SOTA and POTA guys are getting ready for doing it right. Field day. Field day, by the way, is not a contest. It's a operating event, although a lot of people run it as a contest. I call it an operating event because a lot of people like to just show up and have a few brewskis and wander around and see what the other hams are doing. And occasionally we'll pull somebody in and sit them down. If you're a woman, your voice is a desirable thing in a sideband contest. So we'll sit you down behind the microphone and you'll have floods of people coming to you. By the way, cheating within the rules, about 10 years ago, I ran the 10-meter contest from this location. I used my ICOM 7000 radio at the time, and 10-meter contest is CW and sideband in one weekend, but only on 10 meters. Right, the weekend before that is the 160 contest, where and you can have CW and sideband, but only on one band. But for the 10-meter contest, we had somebody come to visit us for dinner. Her name was Kathy. And I said, I want to be considered a multi-op, but I'm the only operator, so I can't be multi-operator. But if somebody sits down at the radio and makes one contact for me, then I'm a multi-operator station. So I sat her down. I wrote her a script, what she needed to say, and she made the contact for me. And then I said, hold it a minute. While we're at it, let's load up the voice keyer with your voice, and I can use her voice to run the rest of the contest. So she recorded CQ 10 meter contest. This is Whiskey Quebec 6 X-ray. And then she recorded 5-9 California. And then she recorded Thank You QRZ contest. And then she recorded just my call sign. And for the rest of the contest, she and her boyfriend were back in Santa Cruz, and I'm running the contest, pressing function keys using her voice. Once in a while, I had to speak because I had to say, what was that again? And someone said, hey, where's the YL? You cheated us. No, I didn't. The rules say I could use a voice keyer. They didn't say who has to be recorded in that voice keyer. And again, the point is to get the message through. And when you run a frequency, it's scary the first time. I can't tell you how many people during field day have sat down behind the microphone and then they don't know what to say. So we write a script for them. That's okay. And after a while, you say it enough times, you don't need the script anymore. The hardest part is learning to listen, because if you have 5 people calling you, you've got to pick out one of those call signs and say, WQ6X, you're 5-9 in Missouri, or whatever it is that you say. But after a while, you will find out that the best QRM filter is not in your radio, it's between your ears. So if you look behind me here, you'll see all kinds of different boxes. These are audio filters designed to make it easier to hear, but in the end, it's what's between my ears that helps me to sort it all out. This was taken from a field day. Our club call sign, of course, is K6QLF. And of course, now Roger is W6QLF. I thought that was really cool. QLF is a joke Q code, meaning you're sending with your left foot. It's a way of saying your CW keying is horrible. So if anybody says you're a QLFer, it means they don't like the way you sent your Morse code. I'm also a member of Toastmasters, and this time of year, we are in the middle of speech contests. I just won the contest for the Alameda area. I will go on to what's called the division, which includes cities more or less around Alameda. That'll happen next month. But one day it occurred to me that Radiosport contesting and speech contests are very similar. So I wrote a blog about it. And you can, if you go to my blog site, they have a search engine, and you can look all this stuff up by just typing in the word creative competition. That picture was me in what's called the District Table Topics contest about 6 years ago. In Table Topics, they call you up, and out of the blue, they give you a topic, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to say something about it. The topic they gave me in that contest was if I could rewrite history. And I had 1 to 2.5 minutes to talk about it. I mentioned the 10 meter contest. Here is my friend Kathy. And here is the screen for the ICOM 7000 radio. And here is the first place certificate I took, Kilowatt 6 Tango. Kilowatt 6 Tango took first place for the East Bay section. And I'm so grateful to Kathy for enabling me to do that. A little known thing, I did a talk a couple of years ago on beacons, and I won't go into that. I believe it's on YouTube, so you can go look it up. There is a beacon network on the major amateur bands, and beacons allow you to find out which areas of the world are open at any given time. If you can hear a beacon in an area, it may be that you can hear other stations in that area. Say that again. Okay. Oh, that must have been an echo. Well, it's also on 40 meters, around 7.039. Turns out there's a bunch of Russian beacons or military beacons. They've been there for years. And originally it used to piss me off that they were there, until one day I realized that those beacons help me to know when 40 meters is open in the morning to Asia. Last weekend, I heard the K beacon on Kamchat Island, I believe it is. And I heard the M beacon, Magadan. So those beacons help us to know where to point our antennas to work people. And that's also important in Radiosport contesting. I wrote a program called the DX Beacon Tracker. And if you'll notice, here are 5 beacon frequencies, that's 5 beacon frequencies. If you go to those frequencies, you got to know a little bit of Morse code, but it's very slow. They announce themselves in Morse code, and then they give 4 dashes, each at a less amount of power. So the first dash is 100 watts, the second dash is 10 watts, the third dash is 1 watt, and the fourth dash is 1/10 of a watt. And if you can hear the 1/10 of a watt station, then more than likely the band is open to that area of the world. So I contend that radio contests allow us to practice delivering the message, and speech contests and Toastmasters allow me to craft speaking, because in speech contests, if you're overtime, you're out. So we actually put up a green, yellow, and red card. The other night in the speech contest, when I got to 5 minutes, a green card came up. When I got to 6 minutes, a yellow card came up. And when I got to 7 minutes, a red card came up, and I had 30 seconds to wrap it up. If you're 1 second over, it don't count. And so, because in the real world, when you're on an agenda to speak for somebody and they've got the agenda laid out, then if you're overtime, you've ruined their agenda. One of our new members one night, he gave a 5 to 7 speech, and when he was done talking, it had been 17 minutes. I texted the Toastmaster to say, this gentleman is over time and you need to put a stop to it. In the real world on stage, they just shoved you off the stage. That was fine, Ron, but we have other people. So learning to speak on time is important. In radio contests, don't waste your time saying things that are unnecessary. Typical last night, I heard a station say, WQ6X, please copy 59123. You don't need to say, please copy. You don't need to be nice to me. Saying, please copy, that's what, 2 seconds? You wasted 2 seconds of time. But if you make 100 contacts, you wasted 200 seconds of time saying, please copy. If you make 1,000 contacts, you wasted 2,000 seconds saying, please copy. What is 2,000 seconds divided by 60? That's, you wasted 30 minutes of time saying, please copy. Sometimes I notice in field day, I'm going to stop the sharing here. Sometimes I notice in field day, a guy will be running a frequency. I'll make up a call sign, K6 AM, CQ field day, this is K6 AM. And I'll say, K6 AM, this is WQ6X. And he'll say, go ahead. And I sit there because that's not the way it works. In a radio contest, if you're running the frequency, you speak first. And when I get it, I reply back to you. So he should have said, WQ6X, you're 5'9" East Bay section. And I would say, thank you, you're also 5'9" East Bay section. But when I said to the guy, you go first, he got mad at me. Well, don't get mad at me. Do it the way you're supposed to do it. In sweepstakes, the order that you send the information, it's done that way on purpose because that's the way the radiogram is laid out. I hate it when people send things in a different order because now my software, I got to jump around with the tab key and they don't get it. So obviously they don't know that sweepstakes is a traffic handling exercise. Also in contests, read the rules, RTFM or RTFR, read the rules. Because if you read the rules, you know who you can talk to and who doesn't want you to talk to them. I love it when I'm running an Asian contest in the morning and I have the antennas pointed northwest to Asia. Well, the 2-element Yagi that we have on 40 meters didn't have a great front to back ratio. So if I'm running 1500 watts and I have 20 dB front to back ratio, that means my 1500 watts has been dropped down to maybe 200 watts effective signal off the back. So I'll call CQ Asia. This is November X-ray 6 Tango. And November X-ray 6 Tango, this is KM4 ABC in Georgia. KM4 ABC, Asia only. CQ Asian contest, November X-ray 6 Tango. NX16, this is W5KBA. W5KBA, I'm only working Asia. If you had read the rules, you would know that. So read the rules so that you know who you can work and who is going to ignore you, if they are going to ignore you. You'll also know things like how much power you can run. Most contests have a high power category, a low power category, and a QRP category. Just this year, the ARRL contests have lowered their low power category from 150 watts down to 100. Most contests, low power is 100 watts or less. ARRL used to allow 150, and now they've dropped it. The real challenge is to run QRP. I've thought of doing that, but to run QRP, you need a good antenna system. I tend to run 100 watts. That's what I'm doing this weekend. Also, there are other categories. The main ones are called assisted and non-assisted, or in ARRL lingo, limited or unlimited. Assisted or unlimited means that you can use the internet and use the spotting networks to find out what stations are on what frequencies. They call that assisted. I actually prefer to run assisted because there's less competition in the assisted category. Normally, you tune around the radio bands looking for stations. And if you find one, you call in. But with assisted, I can look on the internet. But by the way, just because you see a spot pop up in the band map listing the call signs, that doesn't mean that it's accurate. Whoever typed that spot in could have gotten the call sign wrong. or they could have gotten the frequency wrong. And it turns out, I won't mention any call signs, but there have been some European stations and contests where they purposely typed in the call sign of one of their competitors. They typed it in either wrong or on the wrong frequency so that people would go to the wrong place looking for them, and therefore they would lose out. That's considered poor ethics, basically. You're misleading people, and that I call cheating, and that is not cheating within the rules. The key rule of Radiosport contesting is good sportsmanlike conduct. So that doesn't work. But basically, in a nutshell, Radiosport contesting teaches us how to listen. It teaches us how to speak succinctly, how to transmit properly, and how to get the message through. And that are all the things that we need to run a net frequency. So in fact, I encourage all of you to check out the Sideband Contest this weekend. Again, if you don't have a transmit antenna, listen around and understand what people are doing. If you listen on 80 and 40 meters this afternoon or this evening, you might even hear me, Whiskey Quebec 6 X-ray. I haven't yet run a frequency this weekend. I've been too lazy, but at some point I'm going to find a frequency and let people come to me. And basically the goal is to make as many contacts and get as many multipliers, in this case, prefixes, as I can. And I will submit a log. By the way, tell people you should submit a log, and they say, yeah, but I only made 50 contacts, or I only made 20 contacts. Submit a log anyway, because those people that made more contacts than you might not have submitted a log, or for whatever reason, they might have gotten disqualified. One year, my first year in the November sweepstakes, we used to log by hand. My log was such a mess that I didn't submit it. And when they published the results at the following year, I found out that if I had submitted a log, I would have taken first place for East Bay section, because the guy that should have taken first place, he got disqualified, and I forget why. He did something wrong, and it was egregious enough that they disqualified him. So more and more, I have a notebook now full of certificates from QSO parties. By the way, a QSO party is an event put on by each state, just like we did the California QSO party. The QSO party is an event done by each state every year. Look it up on the contest calendar. And the idea is to put the various counties on the map, put it on the radio. The California QSO party, we have 58 counties, and we put all 58 counties on the radio. Turns out Alameda County is one of the easiest counties to contact. But again, show up, because some people can't hear other Alameda County stations, but they might be able to hear you. And that's important. Last year, I noticed that the high score, the all-time high score for Alameda County was really low. And I said, why don't we put K6QLF on the radio for the QSO party? We can take that score and have the all-time high score. It was a great idea, and we did beat that score by a long shot, but unfortunately, another group got the idea. They had 6 operators, and they had radios up on the hill, and they were on a mountain, which is the dividing line between Contra Costa and Alameda County, and they were on the Alameda County side. I filed a complaint with the contest committee saying I thought they were in Contra Costa, and he looked it up and said, no, sorry, folks. and their score is so high that that score ain't going to be broken for a long, long time. But nevertheless, we made a presence there. Roger and I were the main operators, and Michael John helped out with us as well. And we had a couple of visitors that just sat, I can't remember the guy's name, but he sat behind us. He was just chugging brewskis all weekend and just enjoying watching us operate. So that's what it's all about. You have fun operating, because if it ain't fun, why do it? And you learn something in the process. I propose that the club do some of the Radiosport activities. We would have to operate from one of your locations. Ideally, we should do it in Alameda County. And I would be happy. Wow, your head just got cut off. I thought somebody chopped your head. But I would be happy to mentor a group to run a radio contest, just like we did for the California QSO party and like we did for Field Day. Definitely, we got to get Field Day happening again this year. And if you're afraid to do it, just show up, sit down next to an operation, watch how we do it. You'll see that it isn't that difficult. And then we can sit you down in front of the microphone or the RIDI keyboard, and we'll coach you through it. And as you learn to do that, something inside of you will shift when you get that you can actually communicate succinctly and effectively and get the message through. Because when it comes right down to it, that's why we're here. Yeah, you want to rag chew and all that, nothing wrong with that. But remember, the real reason that amateur radio exists is to get the message through. And that's really all I got to say about this, but I'm open for questions. If you have anything I can clarify, I will do that. Otherwise, I'm going to get on the weird prefix contest and take my own advice. Anybody have questions?
Thanks, Ron. That was very informative. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I would encourage you to write that book, Ron.
Well, my blog is the start in that direction. I'm actually working on an article that I hope will be published in QST on stereo CW. It now includes stereo sideband. And I'm going to take the blog material and reshuffle it and turn it into an article. So I could probably turn a lot of that blog material into a book as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Yeah. And if we can figure out the website, it would be a nice opportunity to also have your blogs on the Arca website too.
I would be happy to write something specifically for the website and post it on the website, and then I'll link to it from my blog spot. And that's a way to drive people to our website. I'm coming up on 60,000 page views from since 2013.
Wow.
So a few people have checked me out, and they could then check out I have put links to the Arca website on some of my blogs in the past. So it's important that we get our link back up if it isn't already.
The link is back up. So Gene was generous enough to pay for the fee. I believe Dan will be reimbursing him the $114. And then we're in the process of trying to figure out how to manipulate the website. And so Gene's figuring out a little bit, but maybe we'll reach out to Jim or whoever might actually know.
All right.
Yep. Well, I think that does it. Is there any other anything else that anybody wants to add or ask before we leave it?
Just a thank you to Ron. It's
Yeah.
much appreciated.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you to Ron, especially for jumping like filling in last minute for
Yeah.
us. I know we were supposed to have a very entertaining presentation on antenna building, but this is just as good, I think.
Well, thank you very much. And I thank my Toastmasters Club, the Alameda Tongue Twisters. By the way, we love visitors at our meetings, 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights. I'm going to be the Toastmaster of the meeting for a change. I've been speaking every week to practice my speech, and now I get a week off. And I'll be Toastmaster. And I think ham radio people should become Toastmasters because you will learn how to be a better speaker. And Toastmasters has helped me to give these presentations because we do a thing called table topics where you're called up at the last moment. And we tell people have a hip pocket speech because the speaker could cancel and we need to have speakers ready. So I'm able to do that thanks to my club. And I would love to hear some of you speak. So get the courage. You have something that interests you in ham radio. We would love to hear about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ron.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Well, then it's off
Thanks,
to
Ron.
CQ contest.
All right.
Good luck.
Okay.
I'll see you all next month. And if you want more information on anything from me, you can email me at ron@wq6x.info. See you.